This is Rook with Mostly Harmless, and I'm here today with Kraken with Socks. Now, he's just one of many legendary players in this game that are just, and I don't use that term loosely, like these are people that we would like to chat with a few of them to get some information about this great game and find out more about why it is that they're so successful. That when you get into a match and you see these people on the other side of the fence, you're like, oh shit. Kraken, welcome. Good to have you here.
Hey, what's going on, Rook? That was quite an entrance there.
Well,
Appreciate it.
there's
Thank you.
there's people like I love playing with the Illusion Brothers. I don't like playing against them. That Dan and Mike,
Right.
seeing Dragomir on the field in his Vindicta,
Big
seeing
old
Octopus,
Dragomir.
yeah, and Octopus
Yeah.
with his Vindicta. He's all of them have been really good community members. That they've been very good at not only playing their ships well, but they're good sports and they play the game well and they give advice and help people get better and stuff and make the game more interesting. Good sports for sure. I was talking to XJ77 and Rain and Yasha just a minute ago about the healers. I wanted to talk to the Borg. I think actually he might be available. Okay, actually we're gonna stop here for just a second. We're gonna get him on and get him included in this. That'll be awesome. One
Okay.
second.
Yeah.
So, happy to say that we've also got the Borg here, Captain of Death, Koshi pilot, primary, I would say, and certainly another person that the first person to answer when I was looking for advice on the Koshi was you, Borg, about what mods you might want to put on it to make it defensive and to survive, because each of these tactical cruisers is very different. First of all, welcome. Thanks for coming and helping out with this. You're one of those legendary players that we wanted to chat with and get some advice from, so thanks.
Happy to help.
What can you guys, Kraken and Borg, what can you tell me about, or tell people that are looking to play this game and get into the game about the tactical cruisers, the three main types of sort of, would you call them healers, basically, the support role?
They're
Um,
definitely fun to play if you play them right. And I can tell you that your team will love you and want to squad with you very often if you do a great job. But there are some disadvantages. Your KD ratio is going to be bad because you're not going to be the person out there killing everyone. But there are some amazing. There's some amazing potential involved. Kraken, what are your thoughts?
yeah. They're fun. They're really fun. They're very versatile. What I mean by that is, I mean, you've got the three separate classes, and I'm sure we'll get into that here in a few. Um, but it also it just gives you that type of experience that you can take into almost any scenario, because as a healer or any kind of support character, you observe what your team does more than per se a DPS role or a sniper that gets tunnel visioned. You get a lot more experience in how the games operate much faster compared to other roles, and you have a large variety of gameplay styles that you can play with supports. I mean, just the tacticals in general. Um,
What do you mean by
I mean,
style differences? Because I mean, we got to make this clear. There's some people that haven't played the game before. These tactical cruisers, they all have the ability to heal with their modules, but the three different ones are very different. Like the one you can attack with, mostly the light tactical
correct,
cruiser, right?
correct.
Whereas the heavy tactical cruiser and light, medium, heavy just basically means health difference. There's no actual armor difference, right? It's just the health pool
Slightly,
that
but
they
not
Well,
much.
have.
there actually is no armor in the game, so
Yeah,
yeah,
there's no armor in
everything's
the game.
health
It's
pool
just health
based.
based, right? Yeah.
Correct.
So that's important for people to know.
Um, I don't actually know right off the top of my head what the stock health is on the heavy. Do you know, Borg?
Is it in that
On
spreadsheet you have there?
which one?
The Koshi.
I think it's 30. Okay, it's 30,000. I'm looking at a spreadsheet here. I don't have all this memorized. So 30,000 compared to 25 for the Tech 4 variant of the medium. And then the light variant carries about 20,000. So yeah, the health pools are definitely different. So I'll just real quick sum up the playstyle differences, because I'm sure we want to get going here. There's a light, there's a medium, and there's a heavy. The light starts with the Palos, and that's a Tech 3. Now, the biggest difference between the tacticals is its main weapon. Almost all of the modules are identical across the tactical line, light, medium, and heavy. So the light tactical, the Palos, its main weapon actually only does damage. It's kind of deceiving, and a lot of new players don't actually realize that. It is not a dedicated healer by any means. It's more of a skirmish corvette killing type vessel. Moving on to the medium, it's very, very versatile. It can both heal with its main beam and attack and do damage with its main beam. It just auto switches between the two, and it can have all those modules to support whichever play style you want. And it does have a little bit more health than the light, Palos Jupiter Arms tree. And then the heavy. I mean, this is Borg's expertise here, but I mean, it's a dedicated healing beam, and its on-point target is almost. I'm looking at the spreadsheet, and it's almost triple, what the medium can heal with just its main beam. And I'm gonna pass it over to Borg here, so he can give you some more enlightenment on the heavy.
I got about 60 seconds, and I'll come back later. But just a couple specs. Koshi has 30,000 health. Level tier 5 is 36,000. Not much difference. So here's an easy way to look at a Koshi, which is the heavy healer. It is 2.5 times the healing potential without any modules or effects of an Aeon.
That's huge.
That right there tells you that's huge. It's 2,000 heal points per second.
But no
I've done
damage.
some math on but
no damage
correct,
with its primary.
without secondaries, but I can kill plenty of people with other ways. We'll talk about that some other time.
Okay.
I did a spreadsheet, and I can actually rig my Koshi to do 20,000 health points per second for 10 seconds.
20,000?
Certain condition. 20,000, yes.
Okay.
So basically, it's you're not going to die mode. I might, but that's okay. You're not going to, and you're what's important because you're killing people. But yeah, and obviously you can get big points. I think I have the highest score in the game right now still. I had a 13,000 point round, and it was 24,000 after bonuses. That I don't think anyone's beaten yet. But that just shows you that, yes, you can get some high scoring games, which is awesome. And your team loves you because you're keeping them alive longer. Yeah. Anyway, I will resume this conversation another brief time, at least in my part, but Kraken has some more great insight, I'm sure, regarding his skill set, especially.
Cool. Borg, I hope to play with you later, and yeah, thanks for joining us.
Thanks so much.
And to anyone that just stopped in, if you just started listening, he was talking about 20,000 heal points every second for 4 seconds. That's roughly the entire health pool of a Tech 5 Jutland, which is the largest health pool in the entire game. So within 4 seconds, you can heal the biggest vessel from 0 to health, like full health. That's amazing.
Now, you'd probably argue that it's a trade-off, right? That there's
absolutely.
You've got the versatility in the Aeon that he doesn't have. He can heal anybody, but he's this big, fat target.
He is the space potato. I mean, that's the running joke. That's the running joke here in the Dreadnought Discord or just around the block. Everybody looks at the Kali, which is the hero ship variant, or the Koshi. It literally is it's a potato. It looks just like a potato. But yeah, it's limited. It is a very good single target healing vessel, with in pubs and not really in like a competitive setting. It has the capability to be very supportive as well. It could have cloak pulse or energy missile or weapon booster missile and just a variety of different things. Target warp, stuff like that. But it really does get locked down really, really heavy when you're looking in any kind of competitive standpoint, because without a secondary supportive healer and a lone potato, it's very vulnerable. So, all of those modules that would have increased your team's survivability or your heals have to end up going towards, stuff like armor lockdown or like a repair pod or repair drones instead of a BMAP, which is, it increases your health output by 200% or something at Tech 4. But yeah,
also
there's a big difference
taken too, so it does.
It does make you vulnerable. So that's the thing. It's a trade-off for sure.
Well, let's definitely go through the mods, because the mods, besides the secondary weapon, are actually the same between all of those tactical cruisers, which is neat because that gives you the variety I think that you were talking about, and I think that's something you like about the Aeon. But how do you know if you're a good healer in this game, or what makes for a bad one? How would you identify that? Is there positioning, where would you normally position with the let's call it the healer types. Let's talk about maybe the light one later, if at all. But the where do you position in the Aeon? What makes you so good? Not
Well,
to blow smoke up your ass, but you know what I mean.
no, right. No, yeah, every time I get into a game, the first thing I do is almost any ship. This is a basic skill that you can learn in Dreadnought and many other games. Is you want to see what you're coming up against. So the first thing I look for is snipers. How many snipers they have, how many corvettes they have, because as a Aeon and even a potato or maybe even a palace, that those are your enemies. The corvettes, they can get in close, they can energy drain you, and without energy in Dreadnought period, you're dead in the water. And snipers can really pull out stuff like purge shots that completely shut you down and just pick you off. So first thing is I find out what I'm coming against, rate that, and then figure out my playstyle. Sometimes you can be more aggressive, sometimes you can't. But if you've got a lot of snipers, you want coverage, right? You want to try to move with your team and get through the open areas as fast as possible, to then get into cover so that your team can move forward and then progress, whoever's calling the shots, and you want to follow that and facilitate that as well as possible.
Makes sense. At the lower levels, are there pods and stuff that you would position near those snipers and stuff, or is that just too beginner?
So, okay, well, if you want to go basic beginner, you first need to tell everybody, I'll tell everybody that the Cerberus and the Orcus, which is the Tech 1 and Tech 2 Oberon medium tactical cruisers, which are the heal/damage vessels, they are very weak. Sure. They are very, very weak, and you will not feel like you're doing much of anything. But trust me when I tell you, it gets better. I feel like that's one of the reasons why you don't really see a lot of Aeon healers in this game.
Okay.
I figured that out really quickly once I got into my Tech 3 series, and that doesn't really take too long to get into for anybody that plays, maybe a couple hours a night, whatever. You can probably get in like 2-3 days. But with the modules, Tech 3 modules, you can really put out some good score. And even if you're losing games, if you have, the whole top 3 score, you won't have to pay maintenance if you're playing veterans. So healer's always a good option if you're just trying to either credit farm or you like the trade.
Yeah, I've got to admit that whole top 3 thing, and if people don't know, it's top 3 of the 16 people playing. It's not top 3 on your side of the 8.
Correct.
If you're in the top 3 in a veteran or higher match, you don't lose any money, which is just awesome. And you can do that as a healer often. You
can do that very, very well. Because, even if your team's getting stomped or pushed over, the more damage they take and the more healing you can do, and the more healing you can do, the more points you get. So it's, it's like a win-win situation for healers. It's unfortunate you got a loss, but you're not one of the ones that pay, the 400 credit bill at the end of the game. So that's a plus. But what I'll say to beginning healers, stick with it. It doesn't take too long to get out of the recruit fleets. Once you get into veteran, you need to work on your positioning and energy usage. Now, that is absolutely key. You need to know where they are in retrospect to you, what kind of cover you have or what kind of cover you can get, and where to position. Like early on, you get pods, and the pods can be shot, so you want to try to keep them out of the sight, of snipers or pretty much any other enemy vessel.
They can be destroyed, right?
They can, yes.
Right.
They can be sniped. Okay. It doesn't take much actually to take those pods out at all. I personally don't use the pods. You'll probably use a pod with the series because there's not really another Tech 2, a second module, the number 2 module that you could use to really maybe drain mine, But that's a good start. You definitely want to look at energy. Practice with your energy, and you never want to go into a fight without any energy. You never want to be ganked by a Corvette without any energy. You never want to be, trying to heal your buddy and you don't have any modules and no energy, because you're gonna be in a bad spot.
Because when you put your energy into weapons on the healer, it will actually increase your healing by about 50%?
30%.
Oh, 30%.
It's 30%.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is a big bonus. That can save someone's life for sure. And you do have to
Yes.
be closer, of course. For beginners, I think experienced people, of course, all know this, but there's a red, orange, yellow, meaning that you're in optimal range at red, and orange is that mid range where it's going to be some fall off for your effectiveness, and then yellow is the extreme. And then if you just see a blue circle on the reticle, then you're out of range. So, and that maximum range for any of the healer beams, which is only on the medium and heavy healers, tactical cruisers, is 5K, plus or minus a few hundred meters, depending on the size of the ship. If it's a big ship, you can reach it just a little bit further.
Correct. I'm actually glad you brought that up. If you don't mind me jumping in here real quick, the range, it's a big thing. Now this is another versatility type thing with versus the heavy versus the mediums. See, the heavy is really good at putting out a lot of health close on. So that's from your 0 to your 1200 meter range. Okay, it gets a pretty it gets a pretty good fall off after the 1200. So 1201 to I think it's like 24 roughly.
Okay.
That's your mid range heals. But then after that, the Koshi just tanks. They actually did do a balancing, and they nerfed its long range heals to force it into the bubble, your team bubble to actually it makes you more vulnerable, for nukes and other things. But they didn't want Koshi sitting really far back healing that far.
Oh
The
wow,
Aeons,
it drops
yeah,
like to 25% beyond
yeah,
2.4K.
it's
Okay.
rough.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
that's something people need to be aware of. So if you're in a potato, which is slower than Aeon, you're going to have to be
Yeah.
much closer to your target if healing. When healing. The Aeon, however, does not have as extreme of a fall off.
Sure.
It's still decent, but you can heal, your distant sniper, if he's out of position or if he's a little farther off than, someone else. But
Yeah, the
it's
Aeon still
something to be mindful.
heals less at the longer range, but not much less than
Correct.
the Koshi, whereas at those closer ranges, of course, the Koshi's good. So, okay, that's really interesting. Beyond 2.4K, there isn't much of a difference between the medium and the heavy healers. And just noticing for the light that the damage is a significant fall off too. Like it really needs to be within 1.2K to do its optimal damage. Wow. Okay.
The tax are very location dependent.
Yeah.
So
As are most of the ships to some. Well, I guess maybe not snipers, but okay. So, are you going to be underneath your fleet most of the time? And is that a potential? Is that too predictable and vulnerable?
well, as an early healer, I was definitely in a position where I found myself just sitting under the Dreadnought, and he's just gunning away and he's taking all this damage, and I'm just healing him up. But I found very, very quickly that I had zero situational awareness, because in this game, when you're in a third person view, and when you're looking directly up, you actually almost can't. You just see blue sky and a pretty ship. You know what I'm saying? So
Right. Yeah.
you just don't know what's going on. I would highly advise not to be directly under your heal target.
Okay.
Being above is not nearly as bad. Like if someone's underneath you, then you still have situational awareness. Like if you're taking fire from certain side, whatever, you can tell where it's coming from. But if you're looking directly up in Dreadnought, you can actually not tell where the fire is coming from. So that's something to be aware of. Like an even playing ground, or like at a 45-degree angle, like them above you, to your left, to your right, or any direction is actually much better.
Sorry. I don't know if I quite caught that. Would you be behind your guys, or would you be a bit to the side of them, depending on what terrain
That's
is available for
situational.
cover? Okay.
That's situational. I typically stay I stay up against terrain most of the time on most of the maps. But I don't always, like, I never want to be in a position where I only have one direction to run,
That makes sense.
or to evasive maneuver, because I don't want to be stuck like, oh, there's a nuke coming. I have nowhere to go besides into the nuke. No, don't put yourself in a corner. There's not too many maps that actually have like really deep corners like that.
Yeah.
Dry Dock's kind of one of them. There's a on the main wall there, there's a jut that comes out the bottom, and it's actually like an L
Right.
shape.
Yep.
People get trapped down in those wells a lot.
I've been in there.
Yeah, I think everybody's been in there once or twice.
Yeah,
But,
and actually, but no, I hadn't thought about it the way you're thinking about it. That it seems somewhat protected, so I'm not going to get attacked from the back by a Corvette and stuff. But now they mention it, I mean, I should just scan more, not be right below the guys, and be off to the side a bit, and use my other tools to escape. So, yeah.
I would say maybe with the potato, it's not as bad because the potato has a larger health pool, and typically you're a bigger target, so you don't really want to be out in the open at all.
Sure.
But with the Aeon, you're pretty evasive, especially with
You got speed
energy
too.
exactly, energy to your engines. You can dodge, and you can shield flick. That's more advanced. Maybe we could talk about that some other time, but that's something that people definitely should learn.
Okay, well, that sounds pretty neat. Can you give a hint as to what that is? Like, is it just literally popping your shields on?
It's a lot of multitasking. It's a lot of multitasking. But yeah, when people start figuring out how to use their energy a little bit more appropriately, they can rotate their energy around, and it might give you a little buff. Okay, just saying.
So
maybe those pesky
I've redone my hotkeys.
As much of an have you?
I've certainly redone my hotkeys to move about through the energy a bit, and maybe we'll have to talk about this another time. Okay, we'll talk about it another time in terms of that more advanced tactic. That sounds really good though, in terms of being able to rotate. And of course, the shields on these ships like reduce damage by about 85%, which is just crazy.
Yeah. Let's just say there is a parrying mechanic in Dreadnought. So
I've seen that's come up. Okay.
Well, maybe we'll talk advanced some other time. But,
okay.
We'll try to keep it simple for the new
get
guys.
into the mods here soon? Go through those.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay, well let me just stop this part, and I'll flick on so we can actually look at the mods and get out a game here for a second.
Thanks for keeping us airborne. All
I don't care less about the Dola. Dola's piece of crap. The only person I got killed by with a Dola was Hamster. He rammed me.
This location.
The hamster ram.
Requesting fire at this location.
GG.
I hear a ram. Oh, he was about to kill you.
Who? Was there a Dola trying to ram me? Are you kidding me?
I don't know. Who was aiming for me, maybe?
Maybe.
He was aiming for you, Rook.
You can watch a movie and come back and still not get hit by it.
Oh man.
Nice. 11 kills, 0 deaths. That's awesome. 10 kills, 0 deaths.
Good.
Wow.
Good heals. Good heals.